I just wanted to mention, we love deals, we love announcements. We've got a few already in the pipeline that have already been announced around the conference. Firstly, that Hilton are on track to double its footprint in Africa over the next 5 years, and they've just announced the opening of a Legend Hotel at Lagos Airport. ALEF Hospitality, a new sponsor this year with Barney, has announced the signing of 2 new hotels in Kenya. Congratulations. Marriott expects to increase the African portfolio by 50% by 2023 and has announced the signing of 5 new hotels today. And Radisson has announced a signing of 10 new hotels already in 2018. This is fantastic news. If there's any more announcements, get them to us. Without further ado, I'd like to invite both Nick van Marken, the former Global Head of Hospitality at Deloitte, up to the stage with Olivier Granet, the CEO of Kaseba Holdings, to start off our Hot Seat series. So thank you, gentlemen.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And I have to say, when Matt said this was the Hot Seat series, I don't think any of us actually realized it was going to sort of come true in this way. So not only is Olivier having to sit up here in the seat that was due to be occupied by his chairman and CEO, so no real pressure there, but I've got to do this 3 minutes before the coffee break is actually due to commence. And I'm sure you guys are really having a struggle with your bladders already, so apologies. We're gonna try and make this pretty snappy, and I want a note of the socks, please. But Olivier, thank you. Welcome, Karibu. Perhaps there's a lot to talk about, and I know that you're carrying a new title, obviously. Some of you may have noticed, a CEO Casada, which we'll touch on. But perhaps if we just think about the theme of today, which is invest, create, conserve, and perhaps talk a little about Accor more generally, and then turn to Africa. So I was quite struck. If you look at Accor's PR and press releases at the moment, you describe yourself as a travel and lifestyle group and digital innovator. The obvious missing piece being hotel company. What does that mean, and what are Accor? You're obviously on a journey. You're very acquisitive. We'll talk about that. But what is it that you're trying to tell people that you're doing by saying that?
Well, first of all, I had Sébastien on the phone this morning, and I would like to convey a message on his behalf. When you know his energy, his enthusiasm, the way he pushed boundaries, and his commitment for Africa, he was really, really, really disappointed not to be able to land in Nairobi and to be here today. So, when we talk about, Accor is celebrating its 50 years anniversary, and the way it was done is quite interesting. It was all the hotels around the world that were invited, in fact, to open their doors and to welcome and to invite 50 people, and usually people behind the scene that are part of the local communities and that support and help our activity with a lot of charity association. And so this, as you call the change of title, is probably a different way to look at our activity and different way to look at how we can interact in our environment. And so I will not comment on all the digital strategy of the group on behalf of Sébastien, but if we speak more precisely about Africa, just to take an example, we have launched something which is called My Chic Africa, where as all hotel operators, it was how to attract more visitors to our website. And we have a traditional approach, and we have systems that have been well developed and that are working very well in a number of mature countries. The point is that this was not addressing properly the need, and this was not attractive enough for the market here. And that's how we changed the the perspective. So talking about, we need to have a dedicated channel. We need to talk about Africa with a different perspective. So it's around travel, it's around lifestyle. So this is well aligned with the positioning of the group today, but this is about culture and discovery, innovation. And then we can provide very positive message and present an image of Africa which I believe is more attractive, is corresponding to the reality. And then we can comment on what type of offer and what is our product to serve well the clients. But let's first have an understanding and connect to the market.
You're now in 100 countries, 4,500 hotels, 650,000 rooms, obviously a massive transformation underway. Scale. Are you subscribing to the view that scale is everything? And who is this important for? Is this important for the shareholders? Is it relevant to the guest? What is this drive for growth? And you know, where does it end? Are you going to continue being as acquisitive as you are?
Well, this size of Accor and the fact that Accor is the #1 hotel operator outside of US. Sébastien is very clear on this, that this is linked to some decisions that were taken many years ago, where Accor has been pioneer in a number of countries, in Latin America, in Asia, in China, and has taken sometimes some courageous decision with all the time a long-term vision. The time now is for Africa, and there is a clear commitment that the mandate now is to have the right positioning for Accor in Africa, where we need to have the scale, the size, and that's how we'll come to the announcement and the rationale for it. And at the same time, we need to have the flexibility to interact with local partners. And Mantis, for example, is a very good example on how, whatever is the size and the history of the group, you can find extraordinary alignment of views and same type of excitement to develop things together, and then the size does not really matter.
So I want to turn back to Mantis, if we can, but perhaps just turning to Africa specifically. I mean, you've got, 154 hotels, 27,000 rooms, 10,000 in the pipeline, so the numbers are looking pretty good. I was quite struck by, in fact, the Mantis deal was 22 hotels with about 450 rooms globally, whereas the Mövenpick deal gave you 24 hotels in Africa with 5,000 rooms. So those two deals, very, very different in terms of scale and result. But if you look at what you said about the Mantis deal, it was very important, I think, particularly in conservation being one of the key issues that we're here to address, very important to your Planet 21 initiative. I know Adrian's in the room. I know this is something that is very close to his heart. Why was that? I mean, Sebastian's been on the record saying, you know, this is very much a deal that's been done to enable Accor to provide what he described as curated, one-of-a-kind experiences, and to tie in with Planet 21, the conservation agenda. Can you tell us a little about what's happening in that area?
Accor has been very active on the market with a number of acquisitions. And in fact, if you look at all of them, you have three key pillars. Either this is to reinforce our market share with a local regional player, or this is to bring to our portfolio for our guests new type of experience, and this is to better position in the local landscape and to be able to have a solid anchor in a number of countries. Mantis is very well addressing the experience for the guests. So yeah, the number of properties might sound limited, but if you look at the Mantis Collection and the fantastic work done by Adrian and all the team over the years, and the experience that they can propose, that's something which is very well completing the Accor offer. And then, as you mentioned, this is the anchor, and this is the conservation aspect, which is key and which is giving for us the opportunity with Adrian to have an ambassador present in the cantina, that has been very active, that is well known, that had just been appointed chairman of the Wilderness Conservation for Africa and Wellness Global. So that's a great achievement, and Adrian has been very active. So we are very proud of such partnership.
I mean, it's quite interesting if you listen to the discussion around infrastructure, which we've heard from Daniel, from Robin, from Tom, infrastructure being a fundamental enabler to our industry. But in Africa, we have natural infrastructure which we're in danger of losing faster than it can be replaced, certainly. And the wildlife issue and the decimation that's occurring is obviously it's a major problem.
And this is a lot about education. So we just had the last days our worldwide chief talent and culture spending days in the university near Port Elizabeth, and to understand the program and to see how we can work together. So this Planet 21, which is so important for Accor, is very well enriched and adapted to this experience with Mantis or other companies.
Well, it's very refreshing to hear a company doing a deal where conservation is a central theme. So if we can turn now to the more recent announcement, which was the creation of a fund between Qatar and Accor of total investment value of about $1 billion. I mean, $1 billion, if you announced a fund of $1 billion anywhere in the world, that would be extraordinary enough. But you've said this is going to be focused on hospitality in Sub-Saharan Africa. $1 billion, Olivier. I mean, a lot of people would be very pleased to have access to that. How exactly are you going to spend it, and where? And if anyone wants to help you, how do they get hold of you?
Yeah, 1 billion investment in Sub-Saharan Africa. That's a game changer. Why? This started 2 years ago. Sébastien was at the conference in Addis, and he made an announcement. 100 hotels for Accor in Sub-Saharan Africa. 1 year ago, we had discussion at the strategic committee for the board of directors, and we spent half a day about Africa. To try to give a picture as realistic as possible about the challenges and the opportunities. And this has been done with the view that in the market, having the opportunity to lead Accor in Middle East Africa for the last 3 years, I was very impressed to see the gap that exists with the number of hotels that we sign and open in Middle East versus Africa. We sign and open 4 to 5 times more hotels in Middle East and Africa. And this is true at the market level. If you look globally at the pipeline, more or less our competitors are facing the same. This was well presented with the slide before. When you look about the development on the last 10 years, 11%. So we all know that in the conference there is a lot of announcement about every operator wants to develop the network and is expecting a lot of hotel. The reality is that in the room there is a lot of people that have an interest working together between the hotel operator, very enthusiastic about Africa, the local owners and investors that can have access to some land, that are interested to develop some investment, but are facing some difficulties to access to the debt, to get the necessary support in order to develop the hotel project. So there is a lack of skills and resources quite often, and you have a lot of advisors and consultants that will be more than happy to help. But what we believe is, and this announcement, is how we can connect the dots and how we can create a vehicle that will help, with a lot of humility, but that will help to bridge the gap and to bring something which does not exist in the market yet, that I'm sure there will be other announcements in the future. Sometime we will co-invest together, cooperate, sometime it will be competitors, but that's a very good news. So our main objective is to be able to bring the financing. 1 billion is a serious number. And at the same time, to have a platform, a system where there will be a dedicated team to secure some investment opportunities, to develop the project, and then to give a mandate to Accor as hotel operator to operate the property with Accor brands. So that's a very exciting adventure. At the moment, we are launching this project, so that's why you have seen the name Casada. And I have the great privilege of leading this Casada opportunity, which is the name of, at the moment, an advisor working on the project on behalf of Accor and Qatar Hospitality. And I'm doing this with, so we are two at the moment, and I'm doing this with David Amiba, who is also a speaker later this week. And David has a pure background from private equity and finance in Africa for the last 12 years, so we complete very well each other. And we are launching the project. We are recruiting the team, so if some of you want to discuss with me at the coffee break, you are welcome. And that's a very exciting journey. But again, it's really how we can bring something new in the market, we can bring this money and this expertise, and we can work with a lot of partners that are today in this room in order to, and all the time the first discussion will be what is missing in your project, how we can help you. And to see if there is a good alignment of interest.
So there's just two of you and $1 billion. Sounds good.
Resources will come very soon, and appetite for a lot of people to help also. So no, that's the senior management team, and yes, we are setting up the team.
So I saw recently strategic priorities for Accor in Africa were to consolidate and take advantage of your position in French-speaking West Africa, to grow in East Africa, and to focus on growth markets in Southern Africa, particularly Johannesburg and Cape Town. Obviously, they all represent huge opportunities. Where else do you see this money being funneled? Are there any particular sort of, we've seen various maps showing 50,000 rooms in these 4 countries, and this amount of oversupply potentially in these markets. We're all familiar with these issues. It strikes me as it's not quite as easy to spend this tactically or strategically as it might sound when we hear the big picture numbers about Africa, because obviously we're talking about a period of time. But what is the fund life, and over what period are you going to try and spend this?
So our approach is to focus on key cities, city center. We would like to, in fact, offer to the emerging African middle class some attractive product, well located, a good experience for them, international brands, and with a good ratio value for money. And that's what we're looking for. So we'll cover all segments, from economy to mid-scale, upscale, and luxury. But a lot of the investment will target the key cities and, again, offer something in eco, mid-scale, service apartment. And every time, look at the market, what are the opportunities, what is missing, how we can contribute to the infrastructure. Because you mentioned earlier the importance of conservation education. What we are doing and what we can all can bring to the different cities and infrastructure is probably 1 to 2 points of GDP. It's a lot of employment, and this is also to bridge the gap between the international market, where tourism is around 10% of GDP, and there is still a gap in Africa. So that's something where we need to develop the hotel infrastructure that will bring some resources, that will bring some job to the countries.
So city centre, would you expand sort of the type of thing you've done with Mantis, get into the game lodge market, do that type of thing? Is anything off the table, or is it really, it's got to be major city centre type investment?
Well, we have a core focus. Then we will look at a few exceptions, but then it's again how it makes sense, how this is working. Where we really the approach is how we can bring something targeting first of all people living in Africa. That's really our priority. But I'm sure that we work a lot with Adrian and that he will bring me a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian must be very pleased because he can see an opportunity here, I'm sure. If we talk a little bit about the future, I mean, Quesada, you're running that. Mark's now taken on the remit for MEA. What do you see? I mean, we've talked a lot about challenges, or heard a lot about challenges this morning. I think the mood, you'd probably agree, is inherently optimistic. How would you summarize your take on Africa? Obviously, you're now fully committed. You've bought in, literally. How do you see the continent from where you're sitting at the moment, and how optimistic are you?
So with the support of Accor and Qatar, we are able to bring something quite unique to the market, and having this 1 billion and the skills and expertise of a team to develop hotel is something very new and exciting on the market. So our view is that yes, there is a lot of opportunity and a lot of people are discussing about opportunities. We have to be realistic, and that was for us the reason why we have created this fund, because you know the strategy of Accor as hotel operator, asset light. If there was a lot of existing platform, Accor will just focus on his activity as hotel operator. But it's good that we have this incredible commitment, the opportunity to do it, the opportunity to work with a lot of different partners, and again try to bridge this gap and to see how we can contribute to the development of the country and make the best use of the opportunities that exist in the market.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid some of you may actually be quite relieved, but time is up. And I know Matt wants to come up and say a few words, so I'll let him do that. But perhaps you can thank Olivier for literally stepping into the hot seat this morning.